All right, welcome to Critical Wade Theory, a show where sometimes I look at intriguing genre bending acts in modern music. I'm your host, Wade, and today we're diving into Deerhunter, a band that calls Atlanta, Georgia home, but of course their music belongs to no single place or time. Formed in 2001, they've carved out a space all their own in the indie rock universe, stitching together elements of punk, ambient, garage, shoegaze, and noise to create, as they once described it, ambient punk. It's music to potentially lose yourself in. So I'm going to look at the band and the beginnings first. At the center of it all is Bradford Cox, the lead vocalist, guitarist, and the emotional core of Deerhunter. He's joined by drummer Moses Archuleta, guitarist and vocalist Lockett Punt, bassist Josh McKay, and keyboardist Javier Morales. It's a rotating cast of past members as well, past band members including Colin Mee, Dan Walton, and the late Josh Fowler. Or if the name is French, I mispronounced it probably, but I think it's pronounced that way. But anyway, they helped shape the band's earlier sound, and their 2005 debut album. I'm not even going to say the name of it because it is containing an offensive word that could potentially get me in trouble with the YouTube censors. But anyway, it was an album that kicked off the band with a raw and caustic energy. It was abrasive, confrontational, and unapologetically personal. It was basically more of a punk album than what would sort of define their sound, which is a little bit more of an ambient element. But it captured the chaos of a band still figuring itself out and doing so at full volume. But things started to shift just 2 years later. Their sound evolved, you might say. 2007's cryptograms, boy, I can't talk. Cryptograms sort of cracked open Deerhunter's potential. Ambient textures began to seep in. Songs stretched and breathed a little bit more. It wasn't just punk anymore. It was atmosphere, memory, and yes, a little bit of noise as well. The title track drifts like a ghost, and then came the turning point, which was Micro Castle in 2008, released alongside its shadowy twin, Weird Era Continued. This double punch solidified Deerhunter's reputation as one of indie rock's most innovative forces. Tracks like Nothing Ever Happened mix hypnotic repetition with emotional build, creating what one critic called quietly authoritative sound and a band in full command of its weirdness. And there was also the fact that by 2010, Deerhunter was no longer a secret. The word was out, people were interested in the band. Halcyon Digest arrived, and fans and critics alike took notice. Songs like Revival and Helicopter showcased their ability to be both dreamy and devastating. It was a beautiful, haunting album filled with nostalgia, loneliness, and spiritual weight. This is where Deerhunter stopped sounding like just another band and started sounding more like a world, you know? And from there, they kept pushing the boundaries, you might say. They had Monomania in 2013, which snarled with garage rock grit. Fading Frontier in 2015 sort of smoothed the edges, leaning more into pop sensibility with tracks like Snakeskin. And then came Why Hasn't Everything Already Disappeared in 2019, a melancholic, introspective work that opens with the gorgeous track Death in Midsummer. Throughout all, the thread remains. It's a theme of restlessness and a refusal to repeat themselves. So, at its core, Deer Hunter is sort of about identity, you might say, about the blurred lines between memory and fiction, youth and decay, noise and silence. Cox, who lives with Marfan syndrome, often writes from a deeply personal place, turning vulnerability into art. The lyrics meditate on time, loss, and what it means to be seen. It's no surprise the band's music resonates with misfits, outsiders, and anyone trying to hold on to something that's already fading. You know that type of music that's for a special sort of audience. I would say that Deer Hunter fits that uh, category. They've built a reputation for shows that swing between catharsis and meditation, as likely to melt your face as to break your heart. And they've left a mark. Ask any indie artist who's picked up a reverb pedal in the last 15 years. Deer Hunter's fingerprints are practically everywhere. So why hasn't everything already disappeared? Maybe that's the point. Deer Hunter's music lingers along like an echo in a hallway, like a dream you only half remember. And they've spent 2 decades showing us the beauty that can come from distortion and the clarity that doesn't always come from clean lines. They're not just a band, they're like a sound you live in. Maybe like a blanket you can curl up in or something like that. So I've said some corny things about this band in this episode, and I kind of apologize for that, but you know, it's what you do when you talk about bands sometimes. You try to sound creative and artsy fartsy, and you say you say these kinds of things. But anyway, thanks for listening to Critical Weight Theory. Again, I'm Wade. If you like the episode, share it with a pal, and don't forget to subscribe and click the like button or whatever you see fit to do. And I'll do some more examinations into artists who are shaping modern music. And until next time, keep your ears open.